What's the greatest lesson you've learned from Katy Perry?
Katy is always open to experimentation. Fail or win. Let's just do what we want here.
Yeah.
And she'll kind of dial me back. But at least you have the room to experiment with that avant-garde version.
Yes.
I don't feel like, oh, crap, this could go really poorly. You know,
Yeah.
she usually come back and go like, I love this idea. We're going to use this for this other thing.
Sounds like she's a really good communicator.
She is. When you can get her, she's a great communicator. Yeah.
She's busy.
Well, that's how it is with all artists. It's just when you can get them.
Right.
It's hard to get them.
Yeah. They're being pulled in a million different directions.
You'd be amazed at how fast an artist responds to a non-work email. Go. Go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Go with Elmo. I have an incredible guest today, one of the biggest musical directors in music, Kris Pooley. Kris has worked with many of the biggest artists, including Katy Perry, Pink, Gwen Stefani, Kesha, Demi Lovato, Adam Lambert. He even had a stint with Smashing Pumpkins and Jane's Addiction, and many, many, many more. We talk about a lot of his work with Katy Perry, including the Super Bowl halftime show and musical directing that with her. And we go deep on what it takes to build out a massive tour. So musical direction, working with creative direction, working with production, working with tour direction, etc. Kris has also been the musical director for American Idol since 2018. So we talk a lot about what goes into making that show. What is a week like in American Idol? Because they're constantly working with so many contestants, so many songs, new episodes every week, sometimes 2 episodes every week. So there's a lot of work that goes into that. It's really, really interesting. So we hope you enjoy. Kris is an amazing guy, super nice, super humble. I'm sure you'll love his energy, and there's a lot to learn from him and his rise coming out of Detroit. So additionally to that, thank you for watching. If you have not yet, please subscribe. We've gotten a lot of new subscribers this month as we started doing once a week episodes, more, on the books, getting it down, taking it seriously. So please subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify or Apple or whatever. Subscribe, review, follow, whatever it is. It is all greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy our discussion with Kris Pooley. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the show. I have an incredible guest today, someone I'm really excited to hang with, talk with. He's a great guy, one of the best musical directors in the game, doing crazy things at the highest level with the biggest artists. Make a ton of noise for Kris Pooley.
Well done. It's nice.
You got to wait for the applause to end.
Okay, yeah.
You got. How's it going, dude?
I'm great. You? Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for coming at 11 a.m. today.
Yes. Good morning.
It's good to see you, dude.
Good to see you too.
Good to see you in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't really got to hang in person.
We do a lot of
much.
emailing and texting, and this many in person.
That's the biz.
Yeah.
Well, because you're either on the road or you're holed away in the studio.
Kind of, and I live in the South Bay, which feels like a world away. Yeah.
South Bay and Detroit. Okay, so you're just distancing yourself. You're like, no LA sports at all.
No in town. No, all Detroit, all the time.
We got a Detroit boy here, as you can tell. He cares a lot about Detroit, as he should. It's not only on the hat, it's on the arm.
It's on the arm. It's kind of, I think if you find that someone is from Detroit, somewhere in their body they will have this. I would say it's a coin flip.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 50-50. I would bet money on it.
There's so much Detroit pride, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, because we were so terrible at everything for so long, at being a city, So, everyone's proud of it.
Everyone's proud, man. You have worked with incredible female artists. Like a lot of your, especially resume of the last 5 years, let's say, eight years, is very female driven. Your musical directing, Katy Perry, Pink, Gwen Stefani, Demi Lovato, Kesha. Bunch of the great women. So I really would love to know, what have you learned from working with all these incredible women?
Oof, that's a big question. Gwen, the last time I worked with her, I did her first solo tour. So that was 2005, 2007.
And that was like the break for you, right?
That was the very first thing. Yeah. As far as music directing was, that was a lot of trial by fire. That was learning. As far as what did you learn? I learned everything there, and she was very gracious, and that was a great experience, So, boy.
And you kind of you kind of just I don't want to say stumbled into that position, right? But
Yeah, I mean, as the story goes, she was putting together her first solo tour.
Yeah.
And no doubt had previously toured with David Bowie, opening for David Bowie. So she would see David Bowie's band every night. I think that kind of planted a seed in her head about some of those band members.
Yeah.
So when it came time for her solo career, she reached out to them, the great Galen Dorsey, Zach Alford, and then some other friends of hers, Warren Fitzgerald, Gabe McNair, and then they just needed another guy. They needed another keyboard player. And then, so I did the Barry Squire audition. I did, which there's a story leading up to how that all happened. But anyway,
is it a good story?
well, I'll make it quick. I had auditioned for Nine Inch Nails right before that. I was very sick, which works very well for a Nine Inch Nails audition.
Yeah, for sure.
I looked terrible.
We're looking for a
just
sickly
pale,
keyboard.
sweaty. Yeah. So, and then I went through a couple of the rounds with that. I got pretty excited. I was a big fan. It was when they were first coming back with that, with Teeth album.
Yes.
And they sent it to me, and I was, obviously, so excited. And then I didn't get it.
Right.
And
how old were you?
I was 24.
24.
25, maybe.
Trying to get your
25,
first big gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was bummed. And then the Gwen audition came up. It's hard to remember back that far, but I think it was within weeks, something like that. And so I was still kind of like, all right, whatever, it's fine, and I just went and did this audition. Still kind of bummed that I didn't get the Nails thing, because I love that music so much.
Yeah.
And I just kind of went in, did my thing, and then she ended up, liking what I did, and they hired me as a keyboard player. And then the playback guy quit like right before we started rehearsals, because he went with Hillary Duff, I want to say at the time.
Okay.
So anyway, there was some relationship there where he wanted to honor the Hillary Duff thing. So, and the show was in Digital Performer, and I know Digital Performer well.
Yeah.
And the creative director was just like, "Hey man, can you put this together?" And I didn't even really know what that meant. I was like, sure, I'll put it together, And then the first day of rehearsal, we showed up, and everyone just kind of looked over at me because I had the computer, and they're like, "What part?"
Computer equals Lord.
I was like, okay, I guess. All right, so let's look at the bass part, and here's what the bass part, just the normal MD stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was just luck.
It was just
dumb luck.
You knew Digital Performer.
I knew Digital Performer, and then I came from teaching like the drum corps world. So I came from teaching high schools, and so the mechanics of breaking down parts and teaching and cleaning and all that was very familiar to me. So I just kind of did what I'd been doing.
That's so crazy, dude. It's also crazy to think because so you end up getting Gwen Stefani, you end up becoming the musical director, and then, years later, now you're doing Katy Perry and Pink and all these huge tours, all like pop, female vocal, powerful vocals. Imagine if you got the Nine Inch Nails tour.
Right, yeah.
Because you went in that trajectory, like Gwen Stefani kind of put you in this direction. Of course, it goes around through the rock world, and we'll get into that and stuff, but like, it's crazy to think about if you would have had. Do you ever think about if you got Nine Inch Nails? Like, would you just be like doing Marilyn Manson right now?
It's a very sliding doors
Yeah.
concept, right? And I think about that. I mean, what we do, for a living is all that. It's all like, if I had done that, or I hadn't gone there, or I hadn't met that person, then you kind of can follow it through. But it doesn't make any sense because that's not your life,
Yeah.
I mean, it was me and Cartini that were the last two guys standing for the Nails thing, and obviously he should have gotten it, and he did, and that's what he did for a long time, and he's incredible, and it would have been the wrong fit with me. So I think ultimately they probably would have gotten in with me and realized we needed more of an experimental sound guy as opposed to a player.
For sure.
Because that's what they were like, well, if we need you doing more of the playing, that's why they went, we're going to go with me. But I think we would have all realized quickly, like, this is probably not a great fit for you, for Trent. So, but yeah, I do think about it. Yeah, especially on the scoring side and all that, because that's what I love. I love doing. And then I've been so happy to see, obviously, Atticus. And him just doing an incredible body of work they've been able to make for film.
Yeah, it might come back around as you.
I know. Well, let's just put it out there.
Yeah, putting it out there. Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross. Come on, your boy Kris Pooley's got all the skills, and he's a closet metalhead. Okay,
remember me from 2005 5.
No, I feel like that's the kind of thing where you just manifest getting to them. And then when you get to them, you're just like Kris Pooley, the guy that does American Idol and all these things. And then once you do start working with them, you're like, by the way.
Yeah, you break that out.
I auditioned when I was a sickly young keyboard player. Before my MD stardom.
That was one of my favorite auditions, I'll have to say. If I get, I'll tell you this story real quick.
What's a Nine Inch Nails audition like?
It was incredible because they sent the songs to learn and they said, you're just going to play along with the album. So program all the piano stuff, all the keyboard stuff, all the sounds. And I did it all at that time in Reason, I think, or something. And they just had you at, it was at Swing House, the old Swing House, on the stage, and they just had
in the big room,
the lights on me, and the rest of the room was dark, and then you heard the door open, and then just like boots, footsteps up to the couches, and they all sat on the couches, and then you just hear Trent say, "Hurt," and then the song "Hurt" starts, then you play along with "Hurt," and I felt like obviously I was auditioning, so I was nervous, and I felt like I had to throw up because I was sick.
Yeah.
So it was probably looked great, you know. Yeah. And then that song ended.
They're like, this guy is hurt.
Total silence, and then closer. Then you do closer, and you play it, and then you're like, thank you very much, you know. And then they all stand up and walk. I have no idea how many people were there. It was probably 3 or 15. I don't know. I couldn't see any of them.
What were you wearing for the Nine Inch Nails?
Oh, just all black. You have to.
No fishnet, anything.
No. No. I did come. The guy before me came out, and he had dyed his hair like a leopard print.
Oh yeah. Eccentric.
Yeah, I was just sick. I didn't.
Okay, so Gwen Stefani happens. It was meant to be, clearly, because everything just kept going. So that was meant to be for you. And and there's actually a big lesson there in terms of just like being as dynamic and diverse as possible. And the fact that you knew digital performer just made you end up becoming naturally the musical director.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't like a goal of yours, right? You were like, I'm going to become the musical director.
Yeah, no, I mean, I moved to LA basically to try film scoring.
Yeah.
You know, and I quickly realized, I mean, that was back in the days of like, you make a demo CD and you put it in a manila envelope and you drive to Sony Pictures and you drop it off at some, you know. So it was very analog. It was very, and thankfully I knew some people in that world a little bit that got me into some sessions to meet some people. But then I quickly realized it was a club I really had no business jumping into, honestly. Yeah. And I could do the writing. I felt like I could do the work, but I hadn't paid the dues on any of it. And at that point, especially, it was a little bit more of an old boys club. It's not so much anymore. And there's a lot more scoring to be done because of the boom of TV and internet shows and stuff. But I did see a really helpful breakdown in Gig magazine. Do you remember Gig? Yeah. I don't even know if they might still be a thing. So
I don't think it is. Okay. If so, I mean, we haven't been hearing about it. So, hey, Gig, reach out.
Someone needs to make this graph again, because they had one in there and it was like all the careers in music and then all of the aspects of like how much time it takes to become successful in that career, how much annual salary, like wow. And so, and it was like, you know, composer was like a 30-year arc. And you don't make any money forever. And then like Sideman was one of them. And it was like, you make money right away. Yeah. You know, and you can just start right away. And so I was kind of like, well, if I hear of something like that, and then a friend recommended me to audition with a Barry Squire thing, and then I got, and then that's how that all happened. Yeah. That's
so crazy. If you don't know, Barry Squire has been around a really long time, staffing. He was like the thing in the 90s and the 2000s and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, he was the guy in LA that was putting you in auditions.
Barry's awesome, and I'm really thankful to him. And he put me into a lot of rooms.
Yeah, I remember my first Barry Squire call when he reached out. I was like, oh wow, yeah, I'm on the map. And I was like 21 or something. I forgot what the audition was. Anyways, didn't get it, but it was cool to do.
That's how they all go.
And then I remember coming around and becoming a musical director, and then this is obviously way before JAMMCARD, me hiring Barry Squire to bring us players and running auditions through Barry. Same. Was a big turning. Yeah.
And Barry was great that way. He's very amicable. And
easy, for sure. That's awesome. Big love to Barry Squire for all you've done for so many musicians.
Thank you, Barry.
You continue on your journey. You're like, okay, I'm a musical director now.
I guess so. I mean, I didn't so the whole first Gwen tour, I wasn't the music director.
Right.
There was no music director. I put it together. I had a conversation with management at one point and be like, I think I'm the music director. And they were kind of like,
we don't want you to think
we're not
that.
going to pay you anymore, but you can call yourself that if you want. I was like,
Yeah.
fine, that's great. And I've become good friends with those guys too. So,
Yeah.
so when it came time for the next tour, so she got pregnant while we were in rehearsals, and then so we only did a short tour. We stopped the tour, she had her baby, and then we went on a tour 2 years later. So for that one, they said, okay, you're the music director. We'll give you a little bit extra money. Not much, you know, so
just take it, man.
And put the show together.
Yeah.
And then I got to actually kind of, you know, then do pre-production and all that stuff on it. So, but in between there, I think Kevin Antoon saw the Gwen show at some point, and he just said, who did this?
Yeah.
And he found out. So in between the two Gwen tours, another thing came up, and he called me to road MD that. So that was Nick Lachey, and Nick, you know, stayed a great friend, and that was a lot of fun. He had a song where we're just going to do a single, do a couple promo things, then the single went nuts, and then we stayed out for like 8 months or something, you know.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, so how did you get the gig with Katy Perry?
Katy was much later, 2013, something like that. And she was on her new album cycle, and they had been doing everything internally with their band and doing the arrangements and kind of all working out together. And her creative directors at the time, Nick and RJ, they were like, you kind of just need a music director. So you should meet some people. And funny enough, I knew a lot of the guys in the band from other things, and they were friends. And
so there wasn't a music director at the time.
No, Adam Marcello was music directing.
Oh,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
He was drumming.
He was drumming.
Yeah.
And he was doing a great job. And what they wanted is just like another set of ears to be the outside person. So they hired me just to do one song. And my audition was funny because they just brought me into a rehearsal, and it was like all my friends that were in the band.
Yeah.
And then it was her interviewing me in front of them.
Oh, so it wasn't Trent Reznor just going,
no,
firework.
That would have been funny.
Calling Katy Perry's office.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
No, don't tell her that, because she would love to do that. That's what she would prefer. That's what she would prefer. But it was funny. It was like auditioning in front of your friends.
Yeah.
You know, and then she was like, well, tell me, what do you do? You know, like, who have you worked with? And I was kind of like, you know, you like don't want to talk yourself up in front of these guys that know you too. Yeah. And then they were even kind of like, come on, tell her what you've done, you know? So they just hired me for one song. I think it was to do the VMAs, do Roar for the VMAs.
Amazing.
And then the one song turned into 5, turned into a show, turned into, 11 years.
11 years, man.
Yeah.
That's so incredible.
Yeah.
So now you are working with Baz and Silent House, right?
Yeah.
On the creative direction side.
A lot of Baz, yep.
So what is it like being Katy Perry's musical director, working with the creative director? How does that relationship work when it's time for Katy to start a whole new leg of a tour? What happens on kind of day zero between you as music director, creative director, and whoever? Is there anybody else in that circle in those early days?
Yeah, the workflow is basically, so Baz HALPIN is now, he's the producer of the tour. So he's not doing creative direction. He's the one that's responsible for all the stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, getting it built,
negotiating
the deals, producing the tour.
Yeah.
And then the creative directors are Ant and Ash, SQUIRE. They're the choreographers and creative directors. And the show starts basically with them and the artist, in this case, Katy, coming up with a creative for the show. So they come up with the story, they come up with a rough set list, they discuss, that, and then they give that to me, and then I'll go through the set list and kind of go, actually, these songs, it's going to be too samey if we do this, or, and then with her, it's always like, how are we going to reinvent these songs? So every time I do a song for her, it's different than we had done before, which gets a little like, how am I going to redo this song?
After 11 years, it must become challenging.
If I have creative, like, one tour was very much like, okay, we're going to make this like 80s electro pop, so that's easy. Okay, give me those parameters. Another time, then it's like future space orchestral, and then, so I just keep, and then for this cycle, it's just been like nonstop 130 BPM, just dance, So that's how that works. Then I work on the music. I present that back to the creative directors. We agree on whatever the show is, and then we pitch that whole show back to the artist.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then you go into rehearsals.
Well, then there's like, this
Back
is
and
all over the
forth
course of the
forever.
months. Yeah. So then, and it's fairly dynamic where then they realize like, oh, actually we like to add a dance break here. And so we'll put dance break, like, oh, she needs more time to change here, or she's going to fly here. So we need to build, so.
Right. So then who else is it? MD, creative director. Is there like a tour director or production director that's being like, oh, this isn't even possible actually?
Yeah.
Or how are we going to ship this everywhere?
There'll be a production manager that kind of is saying, hey guys, let's make sure that we, whatever it is. Sometimes it's like she wants the whole, like all the instruments to be white, so they'll want to wrap the kit. I'll be like, no, we can't wrap the kit. So there's just a lot of discussions about like drums sound terrible when they're wrapped. So can we paint a kit? Can we paint a kit? So there's a lot of those logistics, but yeah, mostly the show is made between artist, creative director, music director, and in this case, the creative director is a choreographer. Sometimes it's a separate choreographer, and then the four of you are basically making the show.
God, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then, so what about, since you have Katy Perry as the client, and so you have your tours that run out and do, you do a full cycle, but then you're like, oh, you got to do the presidential inauguration, or you got to do one of these other epic one-offs. So then it's like, okay, you got to change it again for that one-off.
Oh yeah. I'll sometimes borrow like if we did a string recording or I made a certain synth thing that she liked. Yeah. I'll sometimes put that in the session, something like that. But for the most part, everything's what I do is I have everything we've ever done in Pro Tools. I'll mute and hide all those tracks. I'll keep only her vocal, and then I'll pull up a piano track and I'll just work piano and vocal. Yeah. Then start over. Totally, completely wipe the slate clean. And then if she goes, oh, there was that one sound, or I'd like to have the original synth in there, then I'll just bring that back in. And
got it.
Yeah, it's already there. But usually it starts vocal, empty session, piano.
Yeah. And you're never on the road, really, right? Yeah.
No, I'll do. I'll go to festivals and TV shows. Yeah. I'll be in the truck, but touring the show, I don't do.
How long has it been since you haven't been touring?
Last tour was 2011. I think it was the last time I played on a tour. And it was a couple-week tour for the TV show GLEE. Yeah. Which is a lot of fun because my wife played bass. We took our baby and it was like the whole thing. Oh,
that's so cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Your last tour, you got to do the family.
It was a full family tour.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was cool. But, I just looked at the lifestyle and economics and my peace of mind and headspace, and I was like, okay, touring, I think that's a wrap for me. Unless Paul McCartney or Trent Reznor calls, Dude,
those are good. That's a good two.
Those are my two. Yeah, those are my two hall passes for touring.
Paul is my number one as well.
Of course,
so, just in case.
Yeah,
Abe, if you want to hand it over, my guy.
We were rehearsing next to them at Center Staging a couple weeks ago. And I realized when you go into the bathroom at Center Staging, that's the thin wall between his room.
Yeah, because they're in 6, right?
Yeah.
They're always in 6.
So you just go stand in the bathroom and listen to Paul McCartney sing, and it's just like, good Lord, what a time to be alive.
Did you get to meet him during that? Did you see him?
No, I didn't on that one. I met him before briefly, but...
do you want me to give you the strategy of how to do that?
I'm friends with Brian, his guitar player, and so
Brian's
we
great.
chat. Yeah.
They're all great. The whole band is
incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Love Abe, Rusty, everyone's such sweethearts.
Yeah.
I had a similar story. Paul McCartney was rehearsing in 6. I was rehearsing in 8. 7's just that kind of smaller room at Center Staging. The bathroom, as you're saying, we heard them rehearsing. And if you're hearing Paul McCartney rehearse, you can't rehearse yourself.
No.
It's too hard.
No, it's
You're just like emotional listening to them.
Yeah.
So then I called a break. I went to the cafe right there, right? And I told our TM, wait for Paul to leave.
Oh boy.
Text me.
Stalker alert. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
I didn't say wait, but I was like, if you see Paul leave the room, text us, text me. And then I got the text. And Paul was sitting right outside Studio 6 in a little in the parking lot, literally that little bench
there. Yeah,
he's just sitting out there eating a sandwich with Wix.
God,
and I left.
So cool.
I had to go right next to the door that brings you into 6 and 8, right? The little lobby door. So I had to walk in that door. He was right next to the door. So I just walked towards the door.
Yeah.
He started talking to me.
Incredible.
Because he's the nicest, greatest guy in the world.
That's incredible.
Like, he just saw me walking up
Yeah.
all smiley, and he was like, oh, I better be careful. Here comes the gang.
Yeah.
And we looked harmless.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was with Christina Perry and a bunch of other harmless-looking people.
Amazing.
And
but he knows. He knows
Yeah.
that people that want to be around him, and I think he has the energy level and just the generosity to indulge people in that, you know?
So
Incredible.
for people, so many people, I think, that successfully make a living touring and get to that point, then after years don't want to do it anymore and they want to stay home. So you've been able to achieve that. Was that Katy Perry that unlocked that for you, or how did you get to the point where you could just be a music director and not have to tour?
Well, the first one was Kesha, I think, where they called me and I said, okay, I can't tour it, but I'm happy to put it together, and then send you guys on your way, have a road MD. And they were like, great, we love that idea, because then cost wise that's better for a lot of people, because the costs are front loaded, and they can kind of just have an outside voice as you can be the fall guy, you can be the hero, you can be whatever, so that was the first one. That was 2012, I think. And then once I did that, then I realized, like, oh, I didn't know a lot of people really doing that. I know I've heard of people putting tours together and then not touring it, but most MDs at that point that I knew were, they'd tour with the artists that they were music directing. So I felt like, well, I guess this is possible, and then tried it and it worked great. And it was through that, then Max Bernstein was in the band. And he was, a function road MD, and then that started that friendship with him too.
That's awesome.
And we both learned a lot from each other and stayed great friends, so.
Max is great. Another ripper.
Yeah, incredible.
So a couple more things on Katy, and then we'll move on to other things. But so you've done some like incredible, you've had like unique opportunities that not many people get to do with special performances with her. Is there a certain performance that was like your favorite one with her? Super Bowl halftime show, presidential inaugurations, like some pretty iconic stuff.
I mean, the Super Bowl was the first big one. And that was the first. I mean, that was probably it, because that was actually pretty early in my time working with her.
Because that was what, 2015 or 15, and you started 13?
End of 13.
End of 13,
so we were in the middle of next year, and then they're like, okay, we've got Super Bowl. I think we found out in like June or something like that, early. And then I started working on it in July, I think.
Wow.
And then, because we really wanted to have the show, she really wanted to have the show done to present to them and say, this is the show.
By when?
For me, I think it was August 1st.
What? So 1 month later.
It was about that. I mean, at least to demo the whole show. And then
what is that demo? Is it just an audio track that you put together of like, here's the 14-minute segment? Just audio?
I think we had 12 and a half minutes at that point. And
is that did you arrange it, have the band learn it, perform it, multi-track record, then give it to them? Or was it just your demo that they heard?
It was the demo first, because how I tend to work is all demo. I mean, you try to make the demos like it's going to be the finished thing, because it's hard to say, like, you don't want to throw all these caveats in the email and be like, well, when the real drums are on it, or when, so, so I made the, at her direction saying, we'd like to do this song and this on this song, with the creative directors, Nick and RJ, and Baz, was creative directing at the time too. And then we like to have this guest, let's do a mashup of these songs, and then we pitched it back to the NFL, and at that time, I think, I forget if it was NFL and Pepsi or just NFL at that point. And then
the Pepsi halftime show. Right.
So then they kicked it around for about a month, and then we revised. I mean, I can't say who we originally had in it.
Why can't you?
I can't. I know I can't, because these people are probably still in play, so I can't. So, they're still alive. So I guess there's something about in play. That's a terrible way of saying they're still alive. But one of them had sent a tweet that the NFL didn't love, and so we had to remove them from the show
as a guest performer.
And
you could probably figure that out on the internet, people.
Probably figure it out. And then so then we put someone else in, we tried, and then she kind of had a wish list of all these people, and then she would say, like, let's just try all these different versions of all these different things. So then for her, I made a number. The middle of the show was the kind of TBD. And Lenny Kravitz and Missy Elliott were two of those people, you know, and then it ended up, Missy's stuff ended up working really well.
Yeah.
And then Lenny really wanted to do Kiss the Girl. So it was like, perfect. This is, you know, so anyway, that's how it ended up being that. And I think we were around 12 and a half minutes, but that was the first big nerve wracking. Like, I don't think I've ever like high-fived after a show or something, you know, like I'm just not that person. It's usually like it's done. We go, great, good job, everyone. Thank you. You know, like, but that was like, yeah, that was a scary ride.
That was like, you won the Super Bowl. Let's go celebrate. Yeah.
My own musician. Yeah. Way.
I mean, probably to half the people that watch the Super Bowl, it's like, I'm here for the halftime show.
Well, I mean, so
you did win.
There's a certain segment. It's usually not me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the funny story behind that though is that that particular one was the outdoor one in Glendale, so the roof is open. Yeah. And our show is dependent upon it being dark. And the first half went really fast. And everyone, the director, and everyone in the truck that's doing it, they're British and they don't know the rules of U.S. football necessarily. And we got to about the 2-minute warning, and it was still light, and they were freaking out. They're like, we're not gonna see that. I was like, hold on, the last 2 minutes before halftime, this is gonna take forever. Yeah. They're like, how long is it gonna take? I'm like, it might be 15 minutes, it might be 30 minutes, you know? Yeah. And looking at the play I was going, you know, so it was funny, like advising everyone, like, listen, it'll be dark. It's not 2 minutes. I promise you. It's not actually 2 minutes. Well, at least 20 minutes. Yeah. You know, and then it got dark just as we started the show.
Man, that's so cool. So
just stuff like that, you know, you don't think about how many millions of dollars are spent on video projection that you will never see in daylight. And then it has to be dark.
Wow, dude. What's the greatest lesson you've learned from Katy Perry?
Katy is always open to experimentation. So, you know, fail or win, you know, I mean, that's kind of her motto is, you know, really like, let's just do what we want here, I guess, you know? Yeah. And to a certain amount, you know, artists have to chase a certain thing. They have to chase what's happening at radio. They have to chase, you know, but when it comes to the live show with her, generally she's just like, do whatever you think. And so I'll do the kind of the most avant-garde version of what I think. Yeah. And then she'll kind of dial me back. But at least you have the room to experiment with that avant-garde version. Yes. Like whenever I send a version that feels a little out there, I don't feel like, oh crap, this could go really poorly. You know, she usually come back and go like, sometimes she'll go like, I love this idea. We're going to use this for this other thing, you know, or she'll say like, I love it. Let's do it. Keep going. Yeah. You know, or she'll say like, I don't like this for right now, you know, but thank you for that option. It's really good to know that's even possible. Yeah. And then, so now let's make it whatever, you know, great. Maybe I made the whole song minor. She's like, well, let's do that same thing. We just make it major. Yeah. You know, like, great. You know,
sounds like she's a really good communicator.
She is. When you can get her, she's a great communicator. Yeah.
She's busy.
Well, that's how it is with all artists. It's just when you can get them. Right. It's hard to get them.
Yeah. They're being pulled in a million different directions.
Yeah. Aside from their own personal happiness, you know, and trying to like focus on the things that fulfill them outside of music, you know, usually when I send the email, it's a work email, you know?
Yeah.
So, you'd be amazed at how fast an artist responds to a non-work email, a joke or something like that, and you get instant, you know,
barbecue on Saturday in my house.
Yeah,
in town.
Yeah, but then it's like, what do you think of this arrangement? And then crickets for a couple of days, and then.
So you got Tony Royster Jr. on drums.
Yep,
Tony. For Katy Perry.
Yeah,
pretty epic.
Yeah. I was thankful he came on. Boy, that was a number of years ago now.
I remember we were texting, him and I were texting about it when he got that gig. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been fun. I mean, there's no one on earth like him. I mean, just what physically he can do, you know, and his fast twitch. I mean, like how he can play. You know,
singles are blazing.
There's only one of him. Yeah. There will never be another him. I mean, that's just how it is. And then for him to like learn, how I work, how the pop space, you know, some of that stuff, some of those genre rules, has been really interesting to work through with him. Because when he first came in, I mean, he would say this, I'm particularly hard on drummers, you know, that's that's the thing that I kind of zero in on
Well,
first.
you're a drummer.
I mean, I wouldn't say I am a drummer. I have a drumming background, yes.
You have drumming dreams.
Yeah, but they're like drum corps
Yeah.
style, and then I play, not well, but I play. But I'm pretty particular about how a drummer plays certain things, you know.
Yeah.
So
because you're programming the drums.
yeah,
At
and
least in those demos and
yeah, and I just have a preference, you know.
Yeah.
So that's probably the one spot more than anything that I'm critical of, you know. And so Tony comes in, and I mean, he's obviously gotten a lot of praise in his life.
Yeah.
And then he runs into me, you know, and then I would give him a note, and he'd be like, "Oh, word," like I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And then we had like a moment where it took us about a couple weeks to figure each other out.
Yeah.
And then we figured each other out, and it's been great.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like we came to like a real, like understanding and appreciating what he does,
Mm-hmm.
and letting that happen in the right place,
Yeah.
and him understanding and appreciating what I do and where I'm coming from, trying to keep him employed,
Yeah.
you know, and all of us employed, you know.
For sure.
So, yeah, once we got over that hurdle, and I hit those hurdles sometimes with different musicians where a lot of people come to LA and they're the biggest fish,
Yeah.
you know. And I get that. I mean, I feel like I was that way. And if I had someone go like, "Hey man, you gotta chill out with that," or "Don't adjust volumes during the show," or "Don't," you know, like give you some real rules.
For sure.
You either got a fork in the road. You can
Yeah,
you can respond with, "Okay, I'm gonna take that note. They might be right," you know, or I'm gonna push back instantly with ego or whatever, you know. And so everyone has that choice with every note. And some people come in and I give them a note, and then they're like, "No, it's not for me, man." I'm like, "All right, cool," you know.
That's a hard
Nice
conversation.
knowing you. Yeah, that's that's the job though.
Yeah. You got to be able to convey it in a way to where they'll do it. But really, I mean, you're the boss.
Yeah, I mean, and it's really only just looking out for them and for me.
Yeah.
You know.
For sure. And then you're doing Pink right now also.
Well, I did some arranging for her tour.
Okay, you did some arranging.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they had me do, and this is what I do more often than not now, where they'll say, "Hey, can you do these 5 songs or whatever?"
Right.
And so Paul is her main music director.
Yep.
And Paul's a friend, which is funny because he does the voice and I do American Idol.
Yeah.
And you would think it's like Sharks and Jets style.
Yeah.
But we've become good friends, and if any of us can, if there's anybody I can kind of like commiserate about certain things with, it's like
you guys understand
get
each
that.
other. Yeah.
So so then Baz produces her, and they asked me to arrange some stuff, so I arranged some things and send it in and work back and forth with Paul. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we had Brian Fraser Moore on the podcast too a couple weeks ago, and he mentioned you. And
boy.
And another incredible drummer.
I mean,
yeah,
just legendary.
Yeah.
I mean, so good. And that was another one where I came in and I had a particular way I wanted him to play a hi-hat thing, you know, and he was kind of like, he's so mature where he was like, "Okay, man, yeah, let's give that a shot," you know? And then once we messed with that, then it was like, "Okay, now do what you would do here with that." And then it, you know, I think the music benefits with that healthy exchange, you know,
for sure,
as opposed to just like, "Man, do whatever you want. Who cares?" You know, from both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been the musical director for American Idol since 2018?
2018. Yep.
Long time.
Yeah. 8th season this year. Yeah.
That's incredible, man. Congrats.
I'm thankful for it, man. I mean, that has ended up being something way more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the dream gigs. That's one of the consistent high level TV. There's only a few of those.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's a bit of a dinosaur in that there aren't many shows where you're playing live music on live TV.
Yeah. And a ton of live music.
A lot of live music. And at first it seems daunting when you think about that at scale, you know?
Yeah.
But it really just, I mean, it's just people playing music. I mean,
you're a musician. That's
what you do. Yeah. That's what everyone does. Yeah.
So how did you get the gig with American Idol?
The producers were talking to Katy about doing the show.
Yep.
They came out and saw her tour, and they saw the show.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Who did this?"
Yeah.
And then her and her management said, "You should take a meeting with Kris."
Yeah.
So I got the call to meet with the producers, and you know, I'm a big fan of Ricky Minor, and and I mean, we all love Ricky. He's legendary. And I thought that they were just kind of wanted some help with like an arranger or a piano vocal coach type piano person, and then kind of midway through the meeting, it just kind of dawned on me in the meeting. I was like, I think they're asking me to be the music director, like in my own internal monologue,
Yeah.
And, and when they were moving from Fox to ABC, they wanted to change a lot of things about the show. And the music directors happen to be one of them. And it's tough because as a music director, like I have all the respect in the world for the music directors that have come before me. And because, getting hired and getting fired is the whole thing,
Yeah.
Any of that being there or not being there doesn't diminish the talent of the person that's there or not.
For sure.
And I was really thankful for Ricky. As soon as I got the gig, he called me right away, and just an amazing person, gentleman, was just like, "Hey man, I heard you got the gig. Congratulations. I hope you have as much fun there as I had." Just keeping everything really positive and just, that was a very classy thing to do.
Yeah. Super classy.
Mm-hmm.
So walk me through a week of being musical director for American Idol.
Okay. So let's do a week where we have 2 live shows. So sometimes we have a live show on Sunday and a live show on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say we just finished the show on Monday. We just found out, let's say 3 of the contestants are going home.
Mm-hmm.
So after we go out and have a drink after the show, I'll go home. Maybe 2 drinks.
Yeah.
Then I will go home and reorganize our Dropbox with now I'll remove the stuff that the contestants who went home were going to do because we've been prepping songs for them from like 2 weeks before. Reorganize all the information. So then Tuesday morning, we go in and have an executive run through where the remaining contestants come in and sing the song that they want to do that week for myself and the executives. Then we talk about them. Why are you doing that? Sometimes we'll change the song. Sometimes we'll reshuffle things, go home, work on arrangements Tuesday night, sort of like cast the net out to the band and we share a Google Doc and this is what you got to do this. And you're playing mandolin on this and it's going to be like this version and check out, so organize all of that remotely. Then we will rehearse as a band on stage noon to 6 on Wednesday, to go through at that point, it's probably like 24 to 30 songs.
Wow.
Like that. And then, meanwhile, the night before we would have been making like all the like percussion tracks and whatever tracks we got to make, everything except for what we're playing live. Thursday would be a dry block, which is all the contestants on stage, one at a time. We get 3 passes with each of them. That's it. So contest rule, you can't like, we should work on that some more. It's just 3.
That's it.
3. We'll do their song for Sunday. We'll do their song for Monday. Then we move on. We do that with all 24 of them or whatever.
All 24 of them.
That's the whole day. So if you do the math on what that is.
Yeah.
So then that's Thursday all day. And during each of those passes, we do it differently each time. It's kind of like, okay, next time, let's wait for you to come into the chorus and let's actually have drums start at the top now. And then, anyway, so then we'll do another rehearsal on Friday. It's a camera blocks and all the cameras are up. And the director is running that rehearsal. They're doing all the gags and the staging and the run it 3 times for the Sunday episode. The next day, Saturday, run it 3 times for the Monday episode. Then the day of the show, we do a dress rehearsal in the morning. Do the show live, go home. Then it's live East Coast, West Coast. And then Monday, come back, dress rehearsal, live show.
7 days a week.
Yeah. And then everything you just did, you just drag it to the trash and it starts over again the next day.
Wow.
Yeah. So
there's no days off.
There have been in past seasons where we've been spread out. This season is a little bit more compressed.
That's crazy. We're
going as soon as we start till we finish. It's April 6th to May 18th, I think is like the window for it.
Yeah.
And then it's every day for sure.
April 6th to May 18th is when, so it's condensed into those 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, and then there's I have some pre-production and meetings on the front end of that. But
how on earth would you do any other gig during that time?
You can't. No,
no way.
I say bye to my family, the whole thing. Yeah.
Daddy's sleeping in the truck.
Yeah, I come through like a ghost, and we have a studio at our house. So I just pass through for food and then come back. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's crazy. Yeah. Who's in the American Idol band right now?
So drums, RJ Kelly.
RJ.
Yeah. And bass, Joe Ayub. Guitars are Tim Stewart and Greg Saran.
Amazing.
And then Pete Dyer on keyboards, playing all the hard stuff.
Yeah.
I'm playing all the easy stuff. I'm mostly just playing organ. And then we have 3 singers. So then that's been the band for the last 7 years.
So that's the only band that you're actually in playing live with.
And I don't even play any of the hard stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, what I do is mostly, I wasn't going to play in it. And then when we first started, the producers were like, I think you've got to be on the floor running this. And they were right.
Yeah.
Because there's so much, I'm with the contestant in their ear. And when they go left, we have to go left with them. You know?
Right.
So, and sometimes it means me playing us left or, or yelling us left,
And what about your relationship with the contestants?
I've been able to, kind of figure out that role over the years. It's more, what I really love about doing the show is what I do as a music director on that is just music. It's just like artist development. Because most people come in, some have a clue about what they want to be as an artist, but most people just have a vague idea.
Yeah. And
then it's my job to kind of basically shepherd them into like, okay, you sound great doing this. I got to be honest with you, this is not great, and so you can take my feedback or not, you know, because it's at the end of the day, their song choice and how they do it is totally up to them. That's how we do our show. But yeah, so I'll go through and it's just kind of like looking out for them. And then there's, they're dealing with a lot. They're homesick. There's all this stress. They're getting this dopamine rush of social media, and they're dealing with some popularity for the first time. Some,
coming out of nowhere.
For these people. Some people have never, they've never been on a plane. So that's the first time they've flown. I mean,
wow.
So it's the whole host of things. And then they have real life happening back home too. You know, they have their jobs that they had to get away from, and sometimes they have family problems. I mean, just anything that can happen, or so it's a very human endeavor. The whole thing is very, and then we're just making music, and I'm just trying to stay right there with them the whole time. Let them know we got them. Wherever they're going, we got them. Yeah. And even if I don't agree with them, we got them, know, and I'll try to be honest with them if I don't agree. But in that way, it's really cool. And then we just try to turn that over, and I try to stay in their ear all the way to the end, be like, remember, this is just this moment. Yeah. Enjoy it. It's going to end. It actually gets harder after this. Yeah. But so that's more of like it feels way more pastoral, like mentoring, that sort of a role than trying to make hits for them. For TV. Sure. Yeah.
That's so wild, because you spend the rest of the year working with like the greatest artists in the world who are seasoned professionals, just been killing it for a long time. And then you go to the 6 weeks where you have, people, like you said, flying for the first time, let alone playing on TV for the first time, or even playing a show for maybe more than 50 people or 100 people or whatever it is for the first time, and on TV, and that pressure cooker of a situation. That's intense.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's dissimilar though. Yeah. I mean, to working with artists, because the whole dynamic is, as your music director, I've got you. Like, wherever you want to go here, and then if we reach a point where like, I'm not into it or whatever, then I would say like, you need someone that's got you, you know, and maybe that's not me, so that's also a component. But while you're there, it's very much like, I've got you.
For sure. Yeah. So you got Katy on American Idol, and you got Katy as Katy. So you're just
right. Yeah,
it's a big part of your world.
Yeah. Well, she's not doing it anymore. So
she's not.
She left the show last year. Was her last year. Carrie Underwood's on the show this year. So
nice.
Yeah. So Katy's gonna go on tour, do her thing. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. And are you doing next year?
Yep. Well, nice. Idol this year. Yeah.
Yeah. This year. Mm-hmm. You start in April?
The auditions already started.
Oh, auditions start. Oh, because it starts with auditions. Oh, my God.
Which I don't do that part.
Okay.
But we're in cycle for season 8.
In determining what songs the contestants are going to play, is that all you? Is that all them? Is that a combo? Or are you like, this person's awesome, here's 10 songs, here's 10 songs? You must have this crazy, huge arsenal of songs to be going through. You got to have your vocabulary crazy.
Well, there is a pre-cleared list of songs. So there's all this, but then there's like, they can bring any song in that they want. Right. But then part of my team there are coaching teams, and there's one piano player and a vocal coach. There's 3 of those teams. So there's 6 people. And the piano player is really like an associate music director, because they're the first one that comes up with like, okay, should we do this? Should this be like an acoustic folk version of this, whatever, right. Like, and they do the first lift. Yeah. And then once they get it somewhere, that's when it comes to me.
Yeah.
And then and it's usually all on, I'll be working on something on Tuesday as I'm doing other things. And then I'll pop into a Zoom. They're like, what do you think about this version? I'll be like, oh, that's right. like, I don't love that thing, but how about this thing? So then we work on it from there, or I'll be like, that's incredible. Keep going with that. So there is a team that's actually just every day with them, working on arrangements, looking after them.
How is it different working on TV with Idol than doing these big arena tours?
I mean, it feels like it couldn't be more different. I mean, the Idol is very much more, it's very instant. It's very, you're working on music really fast. That's very temporary. With a tour, you're working on stuff that's grinding out over months of working on arrangements that's going to run for years.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about it arranging wise very differently.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say the Idol stuff is disposable, but there's a way in which we refresh them every week and say like, okay, well, this week we can do this thing. Next week we'll do something totally different if you're still here. You know?
That's hard too. The constant rejection that happens in Idol.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's showbiz too. And it's definitely
showbiz.
It's like showbiz boot camp. It's like this adoration and this rejection, this is part of it. And you got to be able to not handle it and not read comments and the whole thing. Yeah.
So for you collaborating with creative directors, lighting directors, production, etc., what's been like a specific like challenging moment for you?
The challenge really is usually just the deadline.
Yeah.
I think all the people I work with, thankfully, everyone's at a pretty high level, and so there aren't professional concerns, there aren't skill concerns. It's just sometimes you get in a spot where, man, we all have to. I think the music director thing is way more blue collar than people like to think it is. It's just a lot of long hours and getting it done, working till you're done, and there's not really a particularly glamorous side other than maybe doing a podcast every now and then.
For sure.
I mean, other than that, it's just a lot of you by yourself. Just go, okay, I got to work on this until it's done. So that's the hardest part. It's just sometimes hitting those when the artist wants to change things, and then you have to get it done in the next 3 hours, so that video even has a shot of getting it done and rendered in order for it to be on the stage.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So for Kris Pooley, for you as your business, do you have a team?
I do loosely. Yeah. Yes. I don't like to. So some people structure their businesses in different ways. I like to keep everyone as independent contractors. I have some people that I work with consistently. Like Pete Dyer is pretty much my right hand as far as arranging. And I'm a big fan of his. So, when there's something I know that's going to be a great fit for him, it goes to him. So say I have to arrange a tour. I've got 23 songs. I'll look at like 3, 4, maybe 5 songs and say like, oh, this could be a good one for this person.
Yeah.
And I'll email John Witt Jr. and I'll say like, hey man, do you want to tackle this song? And then I'll send a couple to Pete, be like, hey, you got time to do this? So I just manage it that way. And then what I typically do is then they'll work on version of the song. Just here are the parameters. Here's what we're looking at. Then they'll send it to me. I'll give notes. And then usually what I'll do is I'll take their versions and cut up pieces of their version with the version that I also made. Yep. Just so I have a little something that's not so homogeneously me.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes Pete will do something and it'll be like, that's perfect. That's way better than what I would have ever done. You know? So like, just save that, send it to me. And you'll use that, So it's, I got to be open to like, sometimes people's ideas are better than mine.
Yeah.
On my team. And that's typically how I work. And then I'll bring on like a couple people to help with like chopping up things and organizing and finding samples or sound effects or whatever, So, but it's all freelance.
What about like the admin side?
Admin side, I have management. And so all the money stuff gets handled through my managers who are great.
Who are your managers?
Rooftop.
Okay, nice.
So Todd Cameron, shout out Todd, Peter, Sydney, Michael. So, and then they have like the lawyering stuff built in. So that's, thankfully, I don't like dealing with money at all.
Yeah.
No one does, I don't think. So, whenever it comes to like, we'd love for you to work on this, I'm like, great. you guys talk about this and see if this makes any sense.
Then we'll creatively talk.
For all of us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just don't like to mix any of that stuff because I feel like that can really pollute the creative process.
And
anyway.
they handle the invoicing as well, all that stuff, the negotiating.
Yep.
And then they know that, okay, at least this, whatever.
Yeah. And it's just been really helpful. I mean, I've been working with them for, I don't know, math. I've been 8 years or something like that.
Math.
Yeah, 8 years. So
that would be 2016, according to math.
Yeah, I think that's the math. And so that's been a great relationship, and I'm thankful for them, and it's worth the commission.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to know. You got to delegate in order to do what you do and to grow and to be able to scale and do all these projects. You got to delegate. Whether you're delegating creative stuff, as you're saying, with arranging and stuff, even though you're a great arranger, you can still delegate others, and then definitely the stuff that you're not good at, or don't want to do.
I think that's really important, and I see a lot of. I think when you're coming up as a music director, you feel like you want to try and do it all yourself. Yeah. And I mean, like, because a lot of music directors now are doing the lighting programming, and they're doing that. I mean, they're like literally doing the whole show. I think that's fine for just a second to like learn it, but you can't scale that, and you're going to burn out with it being so in-house. And I think the show suffers for it because it's just such a homogenous thing,
For sure.
Just a single perspective on it, which I don't think it helps the show.
Yeah.
Is homogenous the right word on that? I don't think that's the right word. It's just a singular perspective.
Yeah.
It's non-homogenous. Anyway. But yeah, I think knowing, even though you don't make as much money, to be able to pay out of pocket for someone else to do something that they're better at than you, or to take something off your plate so that you can get a little sleep, or you can see your family. Or you
Absolutely.
Can,
Absolutely. So where do you think you will be? Like, where do you want to be in 5 years?
That's fine. I think about that. I think about that quite a bit. For me, I mean, I love music. Yeah. But music isn't everything, for me. And I think I think this is just getting older too. Now I'm 47. And I think as you get older and you start to build a career, you start to like evaluate what's the end goal here? What would be my dream scenario? And I have a bunch of dreams still. Obviously, I'm name checking Trent Reznor and scoring him, podcast. So, but I am to be able to find the balance between the work and not work. And when I decided to stop touring, that's really what that was about. Yeah. And my daughter's now in high school, and so I only got a couple more years, and so then she's our only child. And your wife was touring. Yeah, and then she just started touring again. She played in a Garbage tour this summer, so they called her, and so that was. And she was in Smashing Pumpkins. And you were too? I was just by default, because when we first met, we made a deal where we wouldn't split up, because if we're both touring people, like, we could see ourselves easily just taking two separate things. Absolutely. So it was whoever got the work first. At that point, we're like, okay, you got that, and then she tagged along with me when I was playing with like Morrisey, and then when the Pumpkin shows came up, I was just hanging around and catering, and eventually Billy Corgan was just like, well, you're here all the time, just play on the encore or something, right. So I did that, and then the next tour, just playing the encore, man. You're here. You're in catering. Yeah, I'm eating the catering, taking up bus space. Yeah, come on, dude. If you're eating mashed potatoes, play a little meat and potatoes on stage. So, and then the next tour, they wanted to add a couple more musicians, and so then they added me and a couple other guys to the band. And okay, so I just thought when I saw that you had both done Pumpkins, I was like, maybe they met on Pumpkins. No. So how did you guys meet? Well, the tour manager that was tour managing the Pumpkins, got fired, got hired with Gwen, and then we ended up, it was in our Asia leg of the tour, and we were flying a bunch, and him and I, the tour manager, I ended up sitting next to each other a lot and talking, and then he kind of was like, man, you should reach out to Ginger, this girl's cool, like, you're single, she's single. A little matchmaker, a little TM matchmaker. You guys would hit it off. Yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. I think I just like played it cool. But I had actually seen her playing on Letterman before, and we had some friends in common. With Pumpkins? Yeah, with Pumpkins. Yeah. And in my sorrow, I was like, oh, good Lord. So who is that? So yeah, I played it cool, like, oh yeah, I'll reach out to something like that. But I didn't have her email, you know, so I MySpaced her. And it worked.
Yes.
It worked. I dropped the tour manager's name. She wrote me back. We started texting and, you know, happily married for 15 years now, 16 years. Yeah.
That's so cool, dude.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful for Ken Denson for introducing us.
Yeah. And so now she's on tour.
Yeah, she stopped.
Or just did a run.
Yeah, she stopped touring for a while. She really wanted to. We homeschooled our daughter, and she looked at that fork in the road too. Like, this is what I want to invest my time in. And then Shirley Manson with Garbage. She just called up. You know, a friend, Jesse Tobias, recommended, who I played with in Morrisey's band.
Yeah,
said, hey, you should reach out to Ginger, and it's just all relationships. You know how it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the audition was her just going over and meeting them, and then went to rehearsal and went on tour.
Speaking of it all being about relationships, is that where all your gigs are coming from?
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause I mean, a lot of your gigs you've had for a very long time, but when for new incoming, does management do that, or is that just coming to you and then you'll hand off at that point?
Yeah. I mean, there are a few that my managers will say, hey, they're looking for someone for, it's usually a little bit more of a corporate thing.
Yeah.
And then
which is the good money.
Submit. It can be. It
Get
can
that
be.
corporate stuff, guys. Come on, focus on the corporate.
It can be. But yeah, pretty much all of it is someone will see something and then a manager will reach out and say, hey, I saw your blah, 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 blah. Or this lighting director that you just worked with, or, you know, they recommended you. It's all relationships.
Speaking about corporate gigs, did that corporate gig work out?
Oh, that one. Yeah, I can't say the name of it. We're still talking.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I hope it does.
Okay.
They have real corporate money.
They do, yes. Thank you for that, by the way.
Yeah, dude, of course.
Yeah. And speaking of, I mean, not that you're looking for me to plug your business, but like,
I'm always looking for that.
You have a podcast for your business, right? Okay.
Just kidding.
No, I mean, what you've been able to provide for, like, I'll reach out to you and be like, hey man, we need some singers. And yeah, we just did that. A bunch of, made a post for me on JAMMCARD and sent a bunch of singers my way. And one of them got the gig with Katy, and she's, like 2 weeks later, she's in rehearsal. And then we were in Rio and then in Australia, and she's like mind blown,
So cool.
So it's so cool. Like what the opportunity, the channel that you've provided for people to find a way in, it's really cool. Man. Really cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm happy to hear whenever it works out is like just a really great feeling. That's what it's like all about.
Yeah.
Because we're all that. I mean, Christians right here and everything, like we were all touring musicians.
Mm-hmm.
We did that for years.
Yeah.
So we know how much it means to people and how hard it is to make money consistently and all that kind of stuff, and keep the career hot and heavy is hard.
Yeah.
And, or to break in is hard.
Yeah.
And so you're happy that we can facilitate any success for anyone.
And I got so many great, that was a singer one, so many great singers. And so I have a list now of like, kind of like, I put them in sopranos and altos, kind of like my favorites from that. And I have a couple other things that, I'll dip into that list then too. Yeah. So it's, probably 3, 4, 5 people will get like actual employable, work out of it. What do you
look for when you're looking to hire someone?
It depends on the gig.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's more dancing than other. That's kind of the big factor.
Right, of course.
I'm always looking for more sopranos. That's a true soprano, not someone that can sing high. Yeah. I mean, you don't really know till you get in the room. Someone can have all the, as I say, your gift makes room for you. You get in the room based on how well you can play or sing. But then once you're in the room, sometimes it ends up being a great fit, or sometimes it's a tough fit. Yeah. And then if it's a tough fit, then generally you have to move on and audition someone else. So it really depends on the gig.
Yeah.
And for singers, unfortunately, dancing has become such a huge component of pop tours. Some dance experience can be really helpful.
So if you're looking to get gigs, take some dance lessons.
Just go take a course.
And learn digital performer. You might end up becoming the musical director.
Yeah. You don't need that one anymore. No.
So to go back to the first question of the interview, after working with all these incredible women, since we navigated all throughout your career,
okay.
What are some lessons that you've learned from working with all these incredible women?
Well,
Because they run differently, right? Than when you're working with Morrisey, for example.
Yeah, I like it. Yes. Okay, so I won't say who the artist was. There was one instance where we were working on something, and this artist wanted to. It was an acoustic section, and she wanted to play triangle during it. And this one thing. And in my mind,
I'm holding in a laugh just on the thought of that.
Exactly. Well, that's where I was at too. And in my mind, I'm going, this is a terrible idea. This is not even like, this is not going to work. But unfortunately, I said that out loud.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, right. I was like, I don't think it's going to work, like, and then she's like, oh, okay, you can put the triangle down. And then we finished rehearsing it. And then I got called into her dressing room later. She was like, hey man, like, she was like, my husband doesn't talk to me that way. Like, which that's a whole other issue.
Yeah.
But, and I was like, oh shoot. Like she just wanted me to entertain the question.
Yeah.
She didn't want me to answer her.
Yeah.
That wasn't the point of saying, should I do this? The point was saying she was thinking about doing this and let's explore this, So the idea of entertaining a question, which I think in any relationship, if you're a fella and in a relationship, like when a question is posed, it's not for you to answer necessarily, know? I mean, and I think that's true. It's not gender specific, but I think it's the idea of entertaining a question as a music director. When someone says, hey, should we do this? Just roll with it. Just go like, I don't know. Should we do that? Let's try it.
Talk through it.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's try it. Could be a good idea,
Yeah.
or in Idol, it's a little bit more immediate. I can't like dilly dally.
Right.
But I'll still do the same process.
Yeah.
Even if it's a 15-year-old that from my perspective knows nothing about music.
Yeah.
Like there've been incredible 15-year-old musicians, and I could be wrong too. So, so we'll entertain the idea, whatever it is, if it's the triangle, whatever. And then usually collectively, then we'll go like, oh, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Or we'll go, I think we're onto something. This could be cool.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest lesson in most of what I do is when someone pitches an idea to me, an artist pitches an idea, to just entertain it.
And then the birth of Triangle Core happens.
Yeah.
And
I probably ruined it.
Yeah, you may have stopped it.
Yeah, dang it.
Blast beats on a choked triangle.
That could have been
muted
a thing.
triangle.
Really missed it.
You're a metalhead in there.
Yeah, I'm a metal fan.
Okay.
I'm a metal fan.
Okay.
I can't play it that well, but yes, I love it.
I heard that you
love it so much.
Gojira.
Of course. Yes.
Love Gojira.
Of course.
Man.
Yeah, I mean,
clean. One of the cleanest metal shows.
Yeah, and then like when I saw them, that was probably. I mean, I've seen a lot of shows. That was probably the best sounding show I've seen. I don't know who's mixing them, but it was so clean.
They sound perfect
and so incredible. And I'm scanning for all the gadgets.
Yeah.
It just sounds like them. I think they're just playing.
Yeah.
Well,
because they're brothers, the drummer and the guitarist, singer. Yeah. Like I feel like there's something with the brotherly.
And they start from my understanding is they start a lot from the drums.
Yeah.
So he writes the drum stuff and then they write anyway. So yeah, it's incredible. It's mind expanding. And then when you listen to the lyrics, you realize like, oh, they're just mad that the earth is in trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to save the whales and they're really upset.
Yes.
Yeah.
I fucking love Gojira.
That's so great.
That's one of the who else are you listening to metal wise?
Well, obviously Meshuggah.
Oh yeah, another clean one.
That's a everyday for me.
Yeah, and every day.
That's an everyday. Yeah,
that's an intense every day.
And I don't do like a long day with them, but I'll do it usually when I'm driving on the way here. I listen to some, just to like, I feel like it just expands my mind just a little bit.
Absolutely.
Just even like a day where I'm like, if I feel stuck, you know, it's one of those things that just opens up my brain a little bit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then I had a bunch of other bands sent to me. I had this metalhead kid working for me for a little bit. I just don't like a lot of the pretty boy singing ones.
Yeah, I feel you.
That's my I have a hard time with that. So if the singing is too clean, I can't. Even if the music's great.
Yeah.
I can't.
Do you know who I just saw? Well, I just went and saw Slipknot do their 25-year tour
with Gojira.
No, not with Gojira.
Oh.
I wish they had Knocked Loose,
Mm.
and Knocked Loose was one of the cleanest mixes. Whoever was doing front of house in Intuit Dome too, so in an arena, and
yeah.
like Slipknot is amazing live, but Knocked Loose's mix was even better. They ripped it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you were to start a metal band with me, are we fighting for the drum seat, or are you on keys?
I don't know. I have.
Are you doing like the dark string keys?
Can't be a piano player in a metal band. It's bad enough being a piano player. You de-escalated to that. No, I think I have, and this is something. It's actually something I think I've said out loud to many people. I have like a little metal album I've been working on.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just purely self-indulgent. I have another album that's been done for a while that I love.
Instrumental metal or
no? It isn't metal.
Okay.
I'm trying to do 4 albums of 4 different genres, just to do them.
So what are they?
And never release them.
Yeah. Can you send them to me?
I'll send you one.
Yeah, I want to hear.
Yeah, one is it's like orchestral 70 rhythm section, funky, kind of epic landscape.
Mahavishnu-esque?
Not as fusiony.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds fun.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
It is fun. There's great players on it. Tim Stewart's playing on it. Aaron Sterling plays drums.
Oh,
we
dude.
kind of split the drum chair on it. Joe Ayub and Steve Nister. I don't know Steve Nister. Great drummer. One of my favorites.
Yeah.
Plays Brian Blade. Anyway.
Sick.
So that one, a metal one.
Who's on the metal one?
The metal one is probably just gonna be me and my wife.
And you'll
Right
play
now,
every instrument?
Right now it's just me.
Wow.
Yeah. But I gotta get her to sing on it,
Yeah,
play
yeah.
on it too. And then a gospel record,
Yeah.
and then a classical music record.
Oh, dude, I want to hear all this.
So yeah, it's my rule follower project is what I've been calling it.
Rule follower? That's the name of it?
Yeah.
Dude, that's a great name. Why not drop this?
I don't know. I want to finish it first.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you don't have to finish all 4 first, dude.
I want to.
You finish one. And
I don't
then
know
work on
anyone that has released 4 albums in 4 different genres
at once.
at once. I would just like to try it. I don't know. I may never finish it. We'll see.
I mean, I want to hear it. This sounds up
Okay,
my alley.
I'll send you one.
Yeah. And if you want some metal drums on there, even though I got a torn calf right now, I used to be a shredder on the double kick.
Well, I'll copy for the kicks.
I had a group called the Devil's Orchestra that I did for years.
Oh my God.
And that sounds like it's up your alley.
Well, it's when you put the word orchestra on it. I had a band called Progressive Jazz Orchestra.
Oh.
So our
Very
pretension level
literal.
is orchestra.
So do you like Opeth?
No.
Oh, no. Definitive no.
Yeah.
Do you like triangles? Just kidding. Definitive no.
Oh, wait. The instrument triangles, or
Yeah.
is there a band called Triangle?
No, the instrument triangle.
Oh God, I was like, I don't know the metal band named Triangle.
That is actually a good metal band. Okay, so give me some more though. I want to, because I'm
I'm not-
coming back into my metalness.
I'm not that deep.
All right, well, even if it's the old school, is it the fact that I now know so much more about you just knowing that you listen to Meshuggah daily, even for 5 minutes. That is a personality type.
It is. It might also be time of life.
Yeah.
I know a lot of other dads.
Throwback.
Well, dads about my age.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, I don't want to say it's midlife.
Yeah. One of my favorite Gojira lyrics that really impacted me, because it's funny, as you were saying, as you read into Gojira, because you're like, oh, they're so angry. Oh, what is this? And it's when you change yourself, you change the world.
Two bomb.
I have a nasty growl too.
Oh, so you want to sing in this band now?
I used to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually want to sing on your record. I don't know if you remember this. We're going way back.
Okay.
This is if you're an hour 10 into the pod,
Sorry.
anyways, you're a real fan. You care about
This
this.
is unlistenable.
One of the only times I've only rode on a tour twice. Is that how you would say it when you just like go for fun, like you and catering, but you had your wife there, so it made sense.
Yeah, wags.
I rode on tour with Ed Sheeran and Christina Perry. That wasn't this tour. And then back in the day, when they were huge, I rode on tour with Poison the Well. Do you remember Poison the Well?
I know the name, but I don't know the music.
This is like 2000.
Okay.
2001.
Okay.
Huge. Hardcore. They had the big drops.
Oh.
Those big drops when it was a thing, when it was like the beginning of that. And they were headlining main stage of like Warped Tour and like that at the time. And I rode on tour with them in the bus. Jeff, the singer, and I let my growl out. And I remember like one night when we were just driving,
Oh.
I let my growl out and he stopped everyone and he was like, do that again. And I did it again and he said it was one of the best growls he's ever heard in his life, and said it was better than his.
Oh, interesting.
On record. Let's go. So
that was my favorite Pumpkin stuff when Billy would do his.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, good
my
Lord.
God.
His voice when he goes there.
It's so unique too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bright. Yeah.
He's got the but it's like higher. I can't do the high. I can do the low.
Oh God. Okay.
I can't do it. Okay, final question. What's your watch?
This one is the John Mayer G-Shock.
Oh, so
yeah.
John Mayer, major watch head.
Mm-hmm. It's nice. Got my day to day.
Let me see it.
This one? No. Just a blue G-Shock.
And it looks good with your outfit.
Oh, thanks. I dress for podcasts.
Let me just say, as much as I wish you were Nine Inch Nails, I'm glad you didn't, because I love the Kris Pooley that's sitting here next to me. Ladies and gentlemen, make a lot of noise for Kris Pooley. Thanks for doing this, dude.
Thank you. Oh, we high-fived at the end of it. Let's love it.
Go with Elmo. 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 This is the stuff, man.